Testing, testing.
That's good. We don't have anyone on here yet. Turn that on. Yeah. Are we good? All right, we're good. YouTube's up.
Yeah, YouTube's up.
Perfect.
You want to pass with
He's not logged on yet. So when he shows up, I'll test him. Are we? Oh, we're green.
Carl?
Turn it off. Commissioner, can you hear us?
Hey,
Can you
how
hear
you
us?
guys doing?
Good. Perfect. All right, we're just waiting on. Do we know if Commissioner O'Donnell's going to? No. He's not.
Huh. 1 second delay.
We're good. You ready? Oh, okay. Just let me know when you're ready to roll. So. Okay.
Okay. Good evening. This is the public hearing in case 9692, the rate application by Baltimore Gas and Electric for a multi-year rate plan. And this is our opportunity to hear from the customers of Baltimore Gas and Electric. A number of you have signed up to make statements. We welcome your comments. We need you to limit your comments to 3 minutes or so that we can get through everybody who has signed up and get all the testimony on the record. You will be, as you approach the desk there, the statements are going to be transcribed by our court reporter and become official record of part of this proceeding. I am Fred Hoover. I'm chair of the Maryland Public Service Commission. To my right is...
I'm Commissioner Bonnie Suchman, and welcome, and we look forward to hearing your testimony.
And to my left?
Michael Richard, and also I thank you for your attendance and look forward to hearing your comments this evening.
And on the screen we have Commissioner
Kumar Barve. It's my pleasure to be able to listen to all your testimony. Thank you for coming out.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Ben Baker, the Executive Secretary for the Public Service Commission.
Thank you. So tonight I'm going to call everyone up. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. I'm going to ask you to step up to this podium. When you reach your the last 30 seconds, I'm going to hold up a sign. If you run over 3 minutes, I will ask you to end your testimony. So with that, our first speaker tonight is Councilman Zeke Cohen. All right, I think he might be running late. Our second speaker will be Jamala Blake. All right, our third, Emily Scarr. Right there. Right there.
Yeah.
Hi, Commissioners. Thank you. My name is Emily Scarr. I'm the director of Maryland Perk Foundation. We are a statewide, nonpartisan, nonprofit consumer group based right here in Baltimore, and I'm also a BGE customer myself. Our mission is to, when public debate around important issues is dominated by a small set of special interests pushing their narrow agenda, Maryland Perk Foundation offers an independent voice that works on behalf of the public interest. We urge you to reject BGE's proposed $1.8 billion in capital gas spending and the proposal for a multi-year rate hike, and instead shift back to traditional regulation by approving a reasonable rate this year. Since 2020, when BGE's multi-year rate plan was approved under a pilot, they have not demonstrated that they are using ratepayer money to provide more reliable, safe, or effective service. They have, however, proudly credited additional profits to their shareholders as a benefit of the multi-year rate plan structure. We share concerns from the People's Council that BGE's multi-year rate pilot program incentivized massive spending, lacked accountability, and increased cost to customers. So until the Commission or the state legislature provides further guidance and consumer guardrails on these multi-year plans, we recommend again that you go back to traditional regulation. It's time to just rein in BGE's out-of-control spending on gas infrastructure that is driving up our bills. The company is already spending more than $1.2 million a day on new gas infrastructure, including the pipes, the regulators, the meters. And we know this spending goes well beyond promoting the reliability and safety of the system, leaving us stuck to pay for it for decades to come. You may have seen the new analysis from the Office of the People's Council that BGE is spending more than $6,000 per home on their gas equipment program and plans to recover that investment with a profit to their investors at an average of at least $19,000 per house. We do know, however, of course, that the shift to clean, efficient, and electric homes won't happen overnight, but it certainly calls into question approval of massive new gas infrastructure spending that ratepayers will be stuck paying for long past when we expect to have transitioned our state and our buildings off of fossil fuels. There's just got to be a better way to fund these improvements. So we appreciate your order to strike the so-called electrification plan from BGE's rate plan. I encourage you to also reject this increase in capital gas spending as well as the multi-year plan, and again, shift back to traditional regulation for this year. Thank you so much for all of your time and for your service to Maryland.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I see Councilman Zeke Cohen has walked in. Would you like to give your comments?
Good evening, Chair Hoover and members of the commission. My name is Zeke Cohen, and I'm proud to represent the 1st District of the Baltimore City Council. Baltimore City is the core of BGE's service area, and I believe that it is essential that we have a voice in the outcome of this case. Thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation in person. I'm here before the commission once again to explain the City Council's opposition to BGE's multi-year rate plan as expressed in our July 17th resolution. Number one, I believe that this plan is costly and irresponsible at a time when our neighbors are already having trouble paying for their utility bills. BGE is proposing to replace all natural gas infrastructure that existed in the city as of 2013 at a cost of $1.8 billion just over the next 3 years. While Baltimore does have some of the oldest natural gas pipes in the country, BGE could repair parts of the system rather than replacing them. I was also in attendance at the August 15th hearing and was encouraged to hear that the PSC has been looking into best practices across the country for maintaining gas infrastructure without necessarily replacing it wholesale. Meanwhile, nearly a third of our city's residents have utility bills that are more than 6% of their income, which is considered a high financial burden. As of May 2022, over 83,000 BGE residential customers in Baltimore City were in arrears for utility payments for at least 30 days. That's more than a third of our city's households. With this in mind, I'm extremely concerned about the economic impact of a multi-year rate hike on not only residents, but also small businesses and houses of worship in our city. Number two, BGE has not been a good partner to city residents. I've been in office 6 years and I've received very few complaints about inadequate gas pressure or unreliable service. BGE's plan to upgrade everyone to medium pressure gas service feels like an expensive solution in need of a problem. Rather, I hear most often about BGE's Operation Pipeline and how it has disrupted communities and damaged homes. Widespread complaints about external gas regulators went unsolved until this commission used its regulatory power to bring BGE and other stakeholders to the table and to develop a solution, and I thank you for that, and I commend you for that. Finally, last but not least, I believe that this plan is harmful from an environmental perspective. I'm proud that our city has set ambitious climate goals. I believe that expanding fossil fuel infrastructure is absolutely the wrong decision at a moment when we need to be using less gas to meet our goals, not more. Multi-year rate plans allow for even quicker recovery of costs for capital investments. BGE is proposing to recoup costs in excess of the stride surcharge caps instituted by the General Assembly. BGE, which has not been a good partner to our communities, does not deserve to substantially raise rates over a multi-year period to fund irresponsible investments. The PSC
Please bring your comments to
Will do.
Thank you.
The PSC must follow its mandate to regulate in the public interest with economic and climate justice in mind, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we'll have Frank Schneiderman.
Thank you. My name's Fran Schneiderman. I'm been a consumer advocate in Maryland for the last 10 plus years. I work with a group called Consumer Auto Maryland, consumer protection for car buyers. But I've also been interested in energy issues for a long time, and also a 35-year resident of Baltimore City and customer of BGE. So I'm deeply concerned about the impact of this rate hike, particularly for low-income people in the city. I mean, essentially, I think the rate hike is for too long and for too much money and to pay for the wrong kind of investments. We're authorizing here 3 years of rate hikes, according to, that's what BGE has asked you to do, which would have really considerable costs for consumers around the area. It's estimated to be more than $800 a year in additional costs for the average consumer. And I mean, that's an additional burden for city residents who many of whom are already deeply burdened by the cost of energy. The Office of the People's Counsel estimated that 15% of Baltimore residents who make less than 200% of the federal poverty line, federal poverty rate of income, those people are paying on average of about 15% of their income, which is too much for people to afford already. And as Councilman Cohen pointed out, tens of thousands of city residents are behind on their bills, struggling to pay their bills. And, 3 years of this kind of substantial increase, worth about $600 million in total, that's an awful lot. And I'd like to see you folks try to limit them to a smaller increase, maybe 1 year, as Emily Scarr suggested, instead of authorizing 3 years of increases. And this is mostly driven not by the cost of energy, and we all know that energy is in scarce supply, but this is mostly driven by the distribution costs that they want you to authorize huge increases for. I believe this would be a 61% increase over the next 3 years for gas distribution costs, and a 31% increase for electricity distribution costs. And that's in addition to the fact that if you look back to 2010, the distribution cost for your gas has already more than doubled, and for electricity has almost doubled in that time. So, and we're authorizing $1.8 billion in these infrastructure investment for gas at a time when, it's well known that we need to be moving away from gas and burning fossil fuel as a way to heat our homes and provide our electricity. So again, I think it's too much money, it's over too long, and for the wrong kinds of investments. And I hope you folks will be good enough to protect the public interest by, limiting the rate hike to a more reasonable figure that's less burdensome for state consumers. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Katrina Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Katrina Johnson, and I'm a homeowner in Baltimore and an 1199 member. And I oppose the BGE rate. I oppose the BGE rate hikes. BGE already cost me $400 plus a month. I'm constantly budgeting so I can get by, which is even more difficult with the increased cost of living without increased wages, and I live alone. One of the ways I cut back on expenses is I go to markets to buy food in bulk. I cook large meals and freeze the leftovers. If I can't afford my BGE bill and my power gets cut off, all the food in my freezer will go to waste. So then I will be stuck with an expensive BGE bill and have to find a way to replace all my food. This rate hike is bigger than the cost of the bill itself. You have to consider the other costs people incur when the power is shut off. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm passionate about caring for people, especially the elderly. BGE bills are unaffordable for the elderly on fixed income. Baltimore's elders will be the most impacted by this increased BGE bills. It breaks my heart to think about how my great aunt with dementia and her husband will be impacted by a rate increase. I don't want them freezing or becoming overheated in their home. BGE has a monopoly, so we can't just go to another company for rates we can afford. They're holding us hostage. We need you members of the Public Service Commission to protect the public. Reject this proposal, case number 9692. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Holly Ward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Holly Ward. I'm a geriatric nursing assistant and an 1199 SEIU political leader living in Baltimore City. I oppose the Baltimore multi-year rate plan, which allows utilities to charge customers for the cost of projects before those projects are used to serve customers. In their rate rates, customers may even pay for projects the utility has not even started working on yet. This recovery method reduces the utility's regulatory risk by allowing much faster cost recovery, shifting the risk of utility overspending to the customer. This price hike would affect retirees, people on fixed incomes, and low-income people, who, when unable to pay these rising costs, will be left without gas or electricity, which would be horrendous and disastrous. We as customers have to stand for something or we'll fall for anything. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Rhonda White.
Oh, actually, Cynthia Neely.
Oh, my apologies. Cynthia Neely, my apologies. Then Rhonda White.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Neely. I've lived in Baltimore my whole life. I urge you to reject BG&E's proposed rate hikes, case number 9692. Raising the BG&E bills would be devastating. I live in a two-story house, which is hard to keep cool in the summer, so I spend more on air conditioning than I should have to. Last winter, my BG&E bills were $700 to $800. I had to go without other basic necessities just to keep the heat on. I'm currently in school to become a registered nurse, and I work 2 jobs just to keep my head above water. If the BG&E rate hikes are approved, I have no idea how I will be able to pay my bills and maintain a good GPA. Recently, I received a Section 8 housing voucher December 21 after being on a waiting list since 1999. But you can lose your Section 8 voucher if the BG&E gets turned off. I know someone who had Section 8 and was evicted because she couldn't pay BG&E. I'm scared the same thing could happen to me. This proposed rate hike will literally make people homeless. I work as a home health care aide with an elder who has COPD. I'm very concerned about how the rate hikes will affect him too. As he is on a fixed income due to his health condition, he needs the temperature in his home set at 7 degrees year-round because overheating or being too cold is dangerous for him. He should not have to sacrifice his health to afford his BG&E bill. BG&E raising their rate is extorting Baltimore's most vulnerable residents. Please vote no on case 9692. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Now, Rhonda White.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rhonda White. I am a resident of Park Heights, a leader in my church, and a healthcare worker, and 1199 member. I'm here to ask you to vote no on the BGE rate hike proposal. I live alone, and this already costs me $250 or more per month for BGE. That is a lot of money, especially when the cost of food, water, and clothing keeps going up, but paychecks ain't. Nobody I know can afford higher BGE bills. Every month when I open my BG bill, I get depressed because I have to rob Peter to pay Paul to figure out which bill I will pay this month. It's a struggle. We have mental health crisis in our city that is much worse due to financial stress. When you get a bill you can't pay, it's like getting kicked when you're already down. Then you pick yourself back up just to get knocked down again when the next bill comes. It's no wonder that so many people are having mental breakdowns these days. On the BGE website, when you go to pay your bill, you're redirected to an energy assistance donation page that says, quote, many of our valuable neighbors are living paycheck to paycheck with a forced limited income households to choose between putting food on the table or paying their heating bill, end quote. This is insulting because BGE knows they are part of the problem keeping food off of our tables. Then they have the gall to ask those of us who cannot afford high bills to donate instead of making sure rates are affordable for all. There is no real reason to raise our BGE bills. They just want to make a big profit off of our backs while we can't even afford to live with dignity. I care for people every day, but I can't care for myself when a high BGE bill comes. That's not right. Please vote no on case 9692, and thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Sean Kerr.
Good evening. My name is Sean Kern. I'm a local teacher here at Mervo High School in Baltimore, and I'm here to speak on the partnership that we have between BGE and Mervo. Since I've been at Mervo over the last 10 years, a partnership with BGE has been an integral part of our career pathways. As challenges have come up over the time, BGE has not only strengthened the connection, they've also provided solutions to help our students be successful. The work that has been done has a direct impact on my students as well as other students across the district. The resources provided have allowed us to grow our programs and provide focus to our students. I don't want to speak in general terms, but instead provide specific examples of the work that's been done. Human resource, such as engineers and drone pilots, have been provided to us. These experts have come in to not only speak to our students, but provide the steps necessary to move into these fields. They answer questions and provide specific information to help students make informed decisions. Youth Energy Day is a chance for our students to learn about the energy field. Students are taken to the Baltimore Museum of Industry for this opportunity. BGE supplies transportation and lunch for our students. And here, young people are introduced to work that BGE does across the company. So including overhead underground substations, fleet services, drone pilots, and now the electric car fleet. Students get a chance to interact with employees to learn about the different opportunities, some of whom are recent Baltimore City graduates donating their time to come back to speak to students who are standing in the same position they were just years before. Okay? BGE's Workforce Development Program has created a pipeline for our students right out of high school. As part of the program, mentors expose students to the skills necessary to succeed. Following this program, many students have entered into the BGE workforce with a starting salary higher than most teachers who have taught them. For many of our students, it's a life-changing experience. Just this past August, 4 of my students who were interning this summer were offered extended internships, which is the first step to full-time employment. To date, 20 students, not including those 4, have been hired through this program along with other students across the area. Many have moved into bigger roles with BGE at this point and have come back to talk to current students about the opportunities that they experienced. Having conversations with former students about health insurance, stocks, 401ks, tuition reimbursement, etc. is priceless. Throughout the partnership, the Workforce Development Program identified barriers to entry for our students. The first barrier was the CAS test, to which BGE's response was develop a training program specifically for the students. Obtaining a driver's license was also identified as a barrier. BGE then integrated driving programs into the summer internship program, as well as offering driving school at least once per year to our students. Okay? Another barrier was transportation. BGE provides transportation for students to the internship placements over the summer to make sure that they are able to participate in the program. The most recent barrier for students is the ability to complete their driving hours, and right now discussions are already underway on how to help our students get past that barrier so that they can obtain their driver's license. Okay? So BGE has gone above and beyond for us as far as our school goes, and I'm here just to say thank you for the support they provided for our school and most importantly, my students. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker will be Paula Fernandez. Paula Fernandez.
My name is, sorry, hold on a second. I'm a little small. My name is Dr. Paula Fernandez. I'm here in my professional capacity as a public health scientist on behalf of my community as a representative of the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association. After 5 months of research, I have reached the conclusion that BGE lacks empirical evidence to justify its planned rate increase. An increase to fund massive infrastructure projects that include replacing aging gas pipes, the switch to higher pressure gas service, and the installation of gas regulators. Every BGE representative I have heard from in the last few months has described current and planned infrastructure work as an upgrade required to ensure safe and reliable service. As for safety, it's clear by now to everyone that natural gas is not safe and never will be. BGE representatives know this. Just a couple of weeks ago, right here in this room, they presented photos of houses reduced to rubble, and at a recent CHAP hearing, they spoke of families and children killed in gas explosions. Natural gas pollutes our homes, our lungs, the lungs of the gentleman's kids who just went before me, our environment, and it's destroying our planet. Nothing can make it safe. Not gas regulators, not higher pressure, not new pipes, not hydrogen, and RNG isn't a viable alternative. These are the facts, backed up by peer-reviewed data. As for reliability, I'm a scientist. BGE cannot tell me gas service in Baltimore City is unreliable and then repeatedly cite a single example in which a water main break affected a gas pipe in Fells Point. An N of 1 does not constitute justification. BGE customers have repeatedly asked, on the record, for data to back up claims that new infrastructure is needed. Baltimore City councillors also asked. Last night, I asked BGE representatives to provide the list of gas safety incidents related to older pipes in our city that justify the work they are planning to start next month. I don't know of a single person in Baltimore who has gas reliability issues, but I do know of PIMSA safety data showing incidents resulting from the installation of new infrastructure. And that's exactly how the recent explosion destroyed 2 houses in Pigtown. During the recent PSC hearing, they highlighted their advanced robotic leak detection tools and faced inquiries about prioritizing maintenance of the existing infrastructure over new installations. Over the last 5 months, I have wondered why we are repeatedly reduced to BGE public shaming in order to get proper justification for the investments the people of Baltimore are making in their company. I'm here to ask the PSC not to approve the BGE rate change until experts and the public receive solid justification. For example, evidence of systematic gas reliability issues, not just isolated incidents. Data to support the switch from low to higher pressure gas, not just the excuse that every other gas utility is doing it. And finally, cost-benefit analysis comparing maintenance of existing infrastructure against new installations. The citizens of Baltimore are not here to fund some kind of corporate welfare program. It is not too late to put the brakes on this project and reprogram funds and efforts towards safe, affordable, reliable, clean energy. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker will be Dave Noone.
Good evening. I want to thank the Commission for its work on behalf of the public and its service. And I'm basically asking the Commission to vote no on this multi-year energy proposal. And this is for 3 reasons that have been detailed by the speakers before me. But the first is the fact that this is unaffordable. You've already heard about the situations of how it's going to affect low and moderate income people. The distribution cost by 2026 in the middle of winter would rise 70% for those who have gas. It would rise up to 44% for those who are on electric. An annual rate increase by 2026 of $810. This has such a disparate impact. I've heard stories of faith communities such as churches going out, having to consolidate, not being able to have their house of worship. I've heard of small businesses going out. This is just endemic, and it's also something that really sort of occurred because of the last multi-year rate proposal. So this is one issue that has to be addressed. Another is a whole issue of safety that you just heard about. But the honest truth is the fact that $1.8 billion in new capital infrastructure is in an unsafe process that's being put in. Instead of doing maintenance, they're putting it into new capital infrastructure because it locks them in and gives more of a profit margin. The reality is the fact that methane is 80 times more warming power than carbon dioxide, and it occurs immediately the minute it escapes. In the next 20 years, that's super warming. That's the storms that are going to affect our city, that are going to affect our area, and we have to pay for it to do the rebuilding when it hits us. So that's a waste of money that we're doing right there, especially when the state has clearly declared the fact that we need to reduce our emissions by 60% by 2031 and net zero by 2045. So how can this commission basically approve something that's going directly against what the law has said? And finally, it's unusual. Why are we going to a multi-year proposal that benefits? I understand why BG&E is asking for it, but I don't understand how the Public Service Commission can agree to it, especially during a time of rapid energy transition, both from generation and distribution. There's a lot of new things which are occurring right now, and we need more oversight. We need more levels of accountability, not less. So it's with this, I respectfully ask that you vote no on case 9892 for the BGE multi-year rate proposal. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Through. All right. Stephen Topping.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioners. My name's Stephen Topping. I'm a resident of Baltimore City. I am here as a frustrated consumer captive ratepayer. In 2022, Exelon, BG&E's parent company, reported $2.2 billion in net income, up by 20% from the year before. Yet BG&E is requesting a multi-year $602 million rate hike at the expense of us, the consumer. It is time to rein in the out-of-control spending on natural gas infrastructure replacement. BG&E is fully capable of making their own investment in infrastructure repair. They must determine what is and is not essential and repair with in-kind equipment. This should be an expense of them doing business. BG&E should not be allowed to pass the cost and risk of their massive, imprudent investment on the backs of the consumer. The rate increase request will have a disproportionate impact on low, fixed income households and seniors, but you already know that. This is not a forward-thinking approach to the future. It discourages investment in clean energy and allows BG&E to postpone changing course to help achieve that goal. Should not the focus be on meeting decarbonization goals, reducing greenhouse gases, and meeting the goals of the Maryland Climate Solutions Now Act? Companies doing business with BG&E have voiced their support for the rate increases. This hearing should not be about guaranteeing a revenue stream for those businesses. It should also not be about guaranteeing employment for the employees of those businesses contracting with BG&E. This hearing is about BG&E's request to secure guaranteed profits and guaranteed shareholder equity, all with little or no corporate accountability. Massive gas infrastructure replacement does not prepare Maryland for the future, but you already know that as well. There is consensus that the gas infrastructure equipment at issue will become obsolete in a few years, leaving stranded costs, undepreciated assets, and rusting equipment scattered throughout Maryland. Again, why should the cost of BGE's ill-fated and improven investment be placed on us, the consumer? Commissioners, please prioritize the consumer and the planet. The BG&E rate increase proposal brings with it a myriad of negative consequences. It is without merit and should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Wendy Bozell. Bozell. Thank you. No.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Wendy Bozell, and I'm the president of Upper Fells Point Improvement Association. And I also want to thank the commission because of your help with the gas regulators, which I was involved in. It's so nice now that we have a choice whether it's inside or outside. So thank you for that. Okay. BG proposed a combined gas and electric rate increase of $602 million from 2024 to 2026. By the end of this 3-year period, the average residential customer's monthly bill will have gone up 5% annually, according to the utility company. The company says it's a multi-year infrastructure investment will go towards improving the reliability, safety, and resiliency of BG&E's system. And BGE serves 1.3 million electric customers and 700,000 natural gas customers. But what this doesn't address is the Maryland Assembly's Senate Bill 689, which is from the last 2023 session. And this bill is dealing with public utilities, energy efficiencies, and greenhouse gas emission reductions, alterations, and requirements. And I feel like this rate increase is not addressing what the Maryland state has voted on for our energy efficiency and, just reducing greenhouse emissions. So the bill summary says, generally, beginning January 1st, 2024, by regulations order, PSC must require each electric company and gas company to reduce GHG emissions from each ratepayer's class resulting from direct consumption of electricity and natural gas by at least 2% below the 2016 levels each year, with a culminating effect of 14% by 2031 to support the state's overall greenhouse emissions reduction goals. Each gas company must achieve emission reduction targets through building shell improvements and fuel switching only. A gas company may not use the replacement of gas appliances to achieve reduction targets. And electric companies must promote fuel switching from gas to electricity. It doesn't seem like that's what they're doing. They're just putting more gas in. Electric companies must promote the availability of related federal rebates. So also beginning January 1st, 2024, the Empower Maryland program provides incentives for gas, propane, oil, and other GHG emission appliances must be eliminated. All Empower Maryland program home energy audits and home energy checkups must be evaluated for the readiness of home for electrification as specified. I don't hear anything about improving the gas and making it faster. I didn't hear that anywhere.
Please bring your testimony to a close.
All right. Contract investigators must facilitate whole home retrofits, including weatherization, electrification, lead removal, mold remediation, asbestos remediation, and building shell improvements. The single point of contract for low-income residential contractors, customers and contractors, and multifamily property owners who rent to low residential customers and offer related services. Basically, it's just saying that we should be moving away from gas by 2024, and that's not too far away.
Thank you for your testimony. Annie Craig.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ann Craig, and I'm a BG&E customer and a Baltimore City resident. I've been a BG&E customer for years and have generally been satisfied with the services that I've received, such as maintaining my furnace or fixing a gas leak. But while attending the May 2023 BG&E External Regulator Community Association meeting in Little Italy, it was very clear to me that there is no more Baltimore and Baltimore Gas and Electric. This year has become apparent that BG&E is no longer working for our city or their customers. You've previously seen the quality of their work, their shameless manipulation of the current laws, and their mission to inflict their plans on their customers regardless of the customer's desire or necessity of those appliances, i.e. the external regulators. They've inflicted harm on customers, threatening, intimidating, and turning off gas utilities to achieve their ends. People have been arrested for speaking about customer rights. As you've seen previously by photographic submissions of their work at a previous hearing, the quality and the safety of the work done by their subcontractors is appalling. BG&E has no interest in the quality of the work committed by their subcontractors, nor is there accountability to do it correctly according to the safety or law. Customers have found little recourse when installations have been done unsafely or damaged their property. This year, with all the evidence that has emerged about their disregard for the law, the question of the necessity of the work they're actually doing, safety and treatment of customers, they have demonstrated that they are not good stewards of public trust or funds. They do not like being held accountable. It is difficult to hold a large monopoly accountable, and they are not able to police themselves. In no uncertain terms should BG&E be given a three-year rate hike. Despite their lawyers stating in circuit court that they are an old and trustworthy company, we have not seen sufficient evidence to demonstrate that. It feels like they are almost creating work to justify their rate hikes. As of August 3rd, 2023, according to RigZone, Exelon had a net profit of $343 million and cash assets of $1.035 billion. We need to carefully examine the projects proposed, their cost and eventual cost to customers, and the necessity of these projects. Baltimore and Maryland citizens cannot afford to pay to enrich BG&E, Constellation, and Exelon, and we cannot afford projects that effectively will become our highway to nowhere. Lastly, I want to share one of my favorite examples of their work. You've seen many pictures from our group, and I know you can't see it from there. It'll be in my submission. It's an external regulator that was installed in a Greek town, and we already know that external regulators shouldn't be placed near a home, near windows, and this one is directly next to the home, next to a window, and to make it fit, the contractor decided to put a board behind it, covering up one of the homeowner's windows. This is a great example of why they should not be given what is essentially a blank check and the need to be monitored extremely closely. We deserve better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Suzanne Mullen. All right. And then finally, we have Susan Williams. I don't see her. So.
My name is Susan Williams, and I've been a BG&E customer for about 55 years. And I guess my biggest question is, why would you reward BG&E with additional income when they haven't proven to use the income they have already been provided in a judicious manner? And by that, this occurs on a number of levels. First, on a personal level, they needed to come and fix a meter in my home in the last 2 months. During that process, they threatened to turn off my power twice, and they missed 2 times where they didn't show up. So I spent about a day's worth of time trying to deal with them, and they threatened to turn off my power. It was a delightful experience. And I get, and while I'm retired, I can, cope with it and be annoyed. There are a lot of people who have hourly wages or whose employers are not flexible. They could lose their job if they don't, if they don't show up for work. Just only monopolies can be that disrespectful to other people, just on a human-to-human level. Secondly, I do not believe that BG&E bothers with regular maintenance other than quick run, put a Band-Aid on something that's out. I lived in Baltimore City in Northeast Baltimore for 30 years. We had numerous regular outages. Fortunately, one side of the street was on one grid and another side of the street was on another grid. So if the power went out, I would run across the street to Wanda's house and we'd plug in. And if her power went on, we'd plug in from my house. Because they didn't respond to the numerous outages. They didn't care how long we were out. And now I have moved in my retirement to Pikesville, and we are in a situation, and we have our strongly worded letter to the appropriate authorities, as my children like to tell me I do, where we were out for 12 times in 2022, and that did not include the short, blips or 20 minutes. That was like half a day. And we're having that same kind of outage again this year, with Labor Day being the straw that broke the camel's back. And again, we'll be doing another strongly worded letter to the appropriate authorities. And when we spoke with people, those lines haven't been dealt with since the houses were built 70 years ago. So, and then my third point, I'll try and make it quick, is I couldn't believe that York Road was reconstructed and they moved all the electric lines over to the side. They didn't put them below ground when they totally reconstructed the street from Lutherville to Hunt Valley. You know why they didn't do it? Because BG&E sits there like a princess and says, well, we'll be happy to do it if you pay for all the lines being pulled. So BG&E has the opportunity to put lines that serve a huge number of people underground, and they don't pay for it. And
wrap
they
up
should
your
be
testimony.
required to pay for it. When a jurisdiction says, I'll do the conduit, BG&E should pay for pulling those wires and not make it impossible or put it on the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Do you want me to run through the list to see if the no-shows are here?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go back through the list. Jamal Blake. Theroux. And Suzanne Mullen. All right, that's everyone that signed up, Chair.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and offering their testimony. As I mentioned to you, your words have been recorded for posterity and will go into the official record of this proceeding. We are in the midst of making our decision in this case, and so your opinions are important to us as we make our decisions in this rate application. So I thank everybody for coming out tonight, and have a safe trip home. So with that, we're adjourned. Oh, one second.
And I just also want to echo what the chair said, and I really appreciate you coming out, and we're listening to all of you. So thank you again for coming out tonight.
And likewise, I'd also like to thank you for taking your time this evening.
Okay.
Good evening.
Thank you.
It's always, Chairman, I will say it's always a great honor to hear from the people of Maryland.